I'm gonna need a beer for this. Here's everything I worked on in 2020. January started like many other recent years, saw friends, spent time with family, and did lots of administrative work and lots of work on ongoing projects. 2020 was shaping up to be a busy year with 4 games in the pipeline at NORTHPLAY and a lot of traveling, a lot of speaking, just a lot of plans really. In February, I got to serve on the jury of Spilprisen, the Danish Video Game Industry Awards, and later to give out the prize for Best Game Design, a prize that we won back in 2018. Good game design is the art of taking an idea and turning it playable. Now, even though lockdown would eventually disrupt the actual physical event, I was very humbled to be part of such a talented group of people bestowing awards on the local indie game scene. We also launched an update to Conduct This that introduced the new Endless Mode and monthly leaderboards. Lots of fun UI and game design building out this new way of playing our game. In March, lockdown starts in Denmark. It's of course hugely disruptive to all the plans that we made for the year. Our 6-year-old school start is postponed indefinitely, and we suddenly have 2 kids at home all the time. Restrictions are imposed, we isolate early, and while the world is suddenly filled with uncertainty, we, like everyone else, just adjusts and deals with it the best we can. This video isn't really about the pandemic, but it's hard to talk about 2020 without recognizing how it'll play a huge backdrop to everything else that happens the rest of the year. I feel very privileged to live in this part of the world, and compared to what so many others have gone through, we have it comparatively easy. 15 years of remote freelancing and building my own distributed team means that my creative output hasn't suffered a lot, as this video is about to show, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't been challenging to live and work through this historic year. As the whole world went into lockdown, I tried to find little ways in which I could contribute to any sense of community and escapism. I made my class on designing for app icons free on YouTube, arranging a little online class for anyone willing, uploaded a new lesson every day and discussing class projects. We also tried to give our game Conduct Together on the Switch away for free. Nintendo doesn't accept 100% discounts, so we set the price to the lowest the system could handle, 1 cent. We called it the Super Duper Stay at Home, Stay Safe Together sale. Surprisingly, we would actually go on to sell hundreds of thousands of units, turning a profit in our attempt to give away the game. April rolled around and I celebrated my 36th birthday at home with my family. My sister came to my front yard to sing happy birthday from a safe distance. To cheer up our 6-year-old, who's definitely the one in our household most impacted by the quarantine, we arranged a neat little Easter egg hunt around our garden, drawing little pictures of places he would recognize to finally unveil a Lego set. April was also the month where we launched our first big client game of 2020, Naturspillet, or the nature game basically. A nature sim and exploration game for the Danish national media, DR. Let me just stop right there and rewind time for a bit. Back in 2019, in what now seems like 1,000 years ago, we were called into a room of decision makers from the Danish national media. We were pitching a new experimental game for children. We had fallen in love with this brief of making a game aimed at instilling nature fascination in kids. Not only because making a game for this client and for this audience would mean adding to the cultural heritage that we ourselves grew up on, but also because the design of the game called for things that excite us as game makers: creativity, accessibility, and turning knowledge into play. Now, we were lucky to get the project, and the next 6 months would be a whirlwind of weekly builds, iterations, and polish. And kind of like the game itself, the process of building it has been that of exploration and creativity. At the end of April, we were finally shipping Naturspillet. I even got to do the TV spots for it that would air nationally. I'm so proud of this game. The game design, the execution, the UI, and the timeline in which we were able to pull this off was just a power move. And probably realizing that I wouldn't get to leave the country anytime soon, seeing all my conference engagements be cancelled, I edited a vlog from a great conference trip we had with my brothers the year before. I called it the Rough Speaker Life. Say hi to YouTube, by the way. Hi! Sorry, I'll stop vlogging now. In April, I also worked on an app icon for the app Highlights. In May, I got to work on alternative app icons for the excellent Git app working copy that I had designed the main app icon for last year. Now, I love doing alternative app icons, as it's this great excuse to play around and reinterpret concepts, and they let users customize their interfaces, which is another huge passion of mine. I also worked on a cool little logo for a company that does car audio called Glitzsphere. It's always really cool when something you do gets a physical dimension, so it's been awesome seeing this little piece be embossed onto these high-end speakers. In May, we also updated Conduct AR with a new intro and gameplay tweaks and human occlusion, which is really cool with the new AR Kit 3.5. Around May was also the time where we were pitching DR, another big game, which would go on to launch in December, but I'm getting ahead of myself. In June, I worked on promotional art for the app highlights that I did the app icon for. It's always great fun to do these artwork request promos that Apple asks of developers, right? And I almost always say yes to that type of project if I can find the time. June was also the month where we got to see the new macOS Big Sur unveiled at DubDub. The new redesigned OS and the many reactions to the new focus on judicious expression in interface and icon design prompted me to write an article that I've been wanting to write for 7 years. I called it The Comeback of Fun in Visual Design. And in it, I'm essentially celebrating this re-emergence of expressiveness in visual design, something I've been advocating for through my work, writing, videos, and talks for years. It felt great seeing this thing that I love about design come back out from under the rule of minimalism. And almost immediately after the announcement, we saw a surge of icon redesigns that embraced more dimensionality and a lot of experimentation, and frankly, just a lot of fun, really. The article was picked up by various media and got to the front page of Hacker News, getting more than 1 million page requests in a few short days. I was invited to go on several podcasts and generally just had a good time talking to a lot of clever people about how I felt about this change in direction and what I think it means for the future. Design could be anything we want it to be. In July, I worked on a cute little variation of Yarn Buddy. I also worked on an app icon for TAPCASTs. And then I worked on an app icon for the app Our Expenses, conceptualizing expense tracking in relationships by folding up a banknote in the shape of a heart. In August, I worked on a fun icon called Illithorn for a text-based online role-playing game. I also worked on an icon for Focus Time. Then I worked on the Mac app icon for Cultivate, merging this idea of a bonsai tree with a brain. Oh, and then I also got to do a highlights app icon for Big Sur. In September, I worked on a set of icons for the popular Twitter app AVIARY. Always wanted to do a Twitter app icon, so was really happy to work on my idea of a stylized bird. With iOS 14 launching and widgets being all the craze, I got in deep with the home screen customization, and I did a video sharing some of my thoughts from my setup because I'm just a big nerd when it comes to customizing UI. I also worked on the app icon and promotional art for VinylBox. Sometimes opportunity comes knocking at your door to present you with ways in which you can combine your interests. In September, that happened to me through my friend Kasper Tidemand, who is the CEO and founder of a local brewery here in Denmark called Ale Farm. Now, I love craft beer and I'm a huge fan of his family-run brewery and the amazing beers that they make. So I was humbled and quickly said yes when Kasper asked me if I wanted to produce an investor video for them for their imminent IPO. Now, I love video and I do a lot of video myself and for the initiatives I get involved with, but it's rarely a skill I sell to clients. This was an exception and one I was very happy to make. While the pandemic was on a low point during the late summer, I was also asked if I wanted to do a talk about business in the games industry. This turned into a talk I called How Not to Die in the Games Industry, which may or may not have been uploaded to my channel by now. As always, I'll attempt to leave links in the description for everything that I'm talking about here. In October, I worked on a set of icons for the app ALPENGLOW, and I had a blast creating these different scenes, playing with the lighting and the ambience. I also worked on a Mac app icon for the app Under My Roof. Then I worked on an app icon for the app Phoenix. In late October, it was also time for the yearly Adobe Max, my 6th running invitation to speak at the world's largest creativity conference, a returning adventure that I've been looking forward to each year. Now this year we had originally planned for the whole family to fly to California, but that was obviously cancelled, and instead our speakers was invited to the challenge of making a pre-recorded session for the large, now online event. I made a new session called Photoshop for Visual Designers that aired on the last day of the conference with me and a team standing by to try to answer any questions in the live chat, and it got absolutely crazy, and the response have been overwhelming. I've later uploaded the session to my channel where you can check it out. At NORTHPLAY, we also launched a tvOS app that we've been working on over the summer for a client called UTV. In November, I worked on the app icon for Offscreen, creating this cute little screen robot. And then I finally launched something that I had been working on since early summer when Big Sur was announced and when I wrote that article. See, in many ways, I wanted to put action behind my words and design some of that fun that I was praising. I wanted to make my own icon set that people could customize their machines with, and in November I finally wrapped up and launched version 1.0 of Juice, my vibrant and highly detailed icon replacement set for macOS and iOS. It's really been a labor of love trying to do my own interpretation of a range of icons. The first version of the set includes around 50 icons and variations with a lot of fun details. I sell this set over at applypixels.com and I've been floored by the response. December came out of nowhere and it was time to launch that other game we pitched to DR back in May. It had been a long road, but on December 1st we published a big explorative 2D dollhouse game based on the characters and worlds of Ramachan. Not easy to explain to an international audience, but think of all your favorite kids shows sharing a big island with characters and objects being able to interact with each other through play. As with all of these big game releases, I could make an entire separate video for each of them, chronicling the many twists and turns of development. There's a lot of people involved in making these things, and development spans months or even years sometimes, which always makes them difficult to place in this yearly recap format. In December, I also participated in the PROCREATE dribble playoff and made my own little PROCREATE app icon interpretation. Didn't win anything, but it was really fun to reimagine an app that I enjoy using. I worked on promotional artwork for the app Fin. Then I worked on an app icon for the app Replica. As the year was coming to a close, we had one big game release we were trying to make. And on the 15th of December, after 3 years of development, we finally released Headland for iOS and Android. Headland, which I've referenced in earlier years' videos under the name of Norse, has been such a massive creative undertaking, an ambitious action RPG with narrative and heart for a platform that sometimes feels heartless. Our love letter to what mobile gaming could be. A lot of people have touched this project through the years, and again, this video would be hours long if I had to give a proper account of all the work and the challenges. As a CEO, I'm proud of the creative achievement we were able to pull off and the statement we're making with this product. As a game designer, I'm proud of how the game plays and how it feels. As an art director, I'm proud of how it looks. The lead character is named after my son, and even though he's still too young to understand the meaning of the story we're trying to tell, I'm proud that one day he'll hopefully get this tale of how you need to fight to keep your limitless creativity. Right before Christmas, we also launched a little NORTHPLAY swag store, and then we all took a long and well-deserved break for the holidays. As always, because of the way these yearly recap videos are structured, of mentioning things when they're released, it can give a somewhat skewed picture of what takes up time in a year like this. Small, defined freelance projects and big projects that ship are placed on this timeline, but underneath all of that is a lot of hidden work and all the things that just aren't easily listed in this format. I hired Anders Bothman to help me out with Apply Pixels this year, and it's been a full year of resource updates and big new resources. Apply Pixels continues to be a strong pillar of what I do. The app icon book is still underway, and while I've had to take a break from working on it to keep everything else together this year, it has still progressed and it's still very much on. Our co-working space, Spilhuset, has obviously had a tough year, not exactly a great time to run a little office, and we've struggled to stay afloat. Even though we're an experienced distributed team, it's been challenging to build products together through these long months of forced remote work and self-isolation. It's difficult to be a good teammate. It's challenging to be a present boss. And it's frustrating to feel like there's things you ought to do that you simply don't have the mental space for. Because you're trying to be a homeschooling parent, or because you're juggling a million different things with the same four walls around you every day, or maybe just because the state of the world sucks up your energy. Nothing about this year has been normal, no matter who you are and where you are. Looking back at 2020, I'm very proud that I've been able to maintain a creative output despite all of this, and that my companies and most of my initiatives have survived. We've pulled off some very big and ambitious projects for clients and for ourselves. The tides have turned on a creative expression in visual design that's kept me very busy producing the sort of work that I love. And I look through this list of things that I can say that I've worked on, and I'm happy for it. I can't remember the last time I went into a year with as much uncertainty as I do with 21. I'd like to produce more of the work that I enjoy, but I'd like to do it with more certainty around me and less compromise. I hope you have a great, productive, and safe year. Thank you for watching.